Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today about algorithmic insurance. This is our first webinar in a series that will touch on the algorithmic insurance concept. Future webinars will cover real-life examples from our customers who have already implemented the algorithmic approach to common general insurance use cases like dynamic pricing, predictive claims, or real-time fraud management. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording together with the slide deck is going to be emailed to all webinar registrants. Also, if you have any questions to our speakers anytime throughout the webinar, feel free to submit them using the Q&A panel on your webinar application. Before I hand over to our speakers, I actually wanted to introduce them to you a little bit. Adam Goldsmith oversees our insurance business in the UK and Ireland, and he's at the forefront of the insurance technology market, helping to turn insurance companies into algorithmic business. Michael O'Connell is our Chief Analytics Officer at Tibco Software. Michael has great experience in analytics applications across various verticals. His current passion is driving insights to action, combining visual and predictive analytics with event streams for optimizing companies' business operations. Michael also has a PhD in statistics from the North Carolina State University, where he's an adjunct professor. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Adam, who will start this webinar.
Thank you very much, Judith. So good morning and welcome to everyone. So just in terms of what we're actually going to cover today, I'm going to start off with an overview of what the concept of an algorithmic insurer actually is, and really what business problems that solves for organizations out there. We're going to touch on several of the use cases that we see in the industry where some of these advanced data science techniques are being applied, and actually then talk about some of the customers that Tibco have where this has been implemented, and really show you some of the results they've seen. I'm then going to pass on to Michael, who's going to talk to you a bit more about the Tibco platform and various component approaches to that, getting into some of the detail and some of the advanced techniques that are there, and then we'll come back round to talk about how our customers and hopefully you guys on the webinar can actually adopt some of this technology that's out there. So I thought I'd start with a bit of background really in terms of where the market is, and this was a poll that was done on a recent Market Force webinar that I attended that shows a couple of really interesting bits of insight. So the first is, I guess, where insurers are in their strategy around adopting advanced analytics like AI and machine learning, and it's very interesting to observe that kind of 42% of insurers are actually either starting a project or operating live with it. And gone are the days where this kind of concept is a myth, and we're talking about the realities of today. So I'm really thrilled that this is a relevant topic. And then the second point is really how diverse that can actually be. So it's not just in the areas of the actuarial or pricing teams that are using AI. It's much more broad than that, and some interesting stats that both claims and customer engagement is right up there in terms of the area of focus for insurers. So the algorithmic insurance concept, what actually is it? So this is the ability to deploy advanced data science techniques, such as AI and machine learning, into a dynamic or real-time environment, depending on the demands of your business, that enable you to make better risk decisions and effectively become a more profitable insurance company. And that is at the heart of what we do. And the value to insurers is immense, and it's immense in a number of areas. So we have customers that help spot for up to 30% more fraud than they did before, and this is both the fraud that they are aware of in terms of previous types of fraud, but also the fraud that perhaps they weren't aware of, and spotting new areas. We're finding organisations that previously used black box applications to contain their decision logic actually open up to a much more flexible advanced platform and away from some of the restrictive legacy products that they were using. You can absolutely write both more profitable business through more accurate pricing and risk assessment, but also make sure that you are competitive in the market and your price point is where it needs to be. From a claims perspective, both automating and speeding up and refining your claims process, as well as handling the first notification of losses that you have in a much more effective way, can give immense savings, and we have customers that have delivered up to 60% cost reductions throughout their claims process, which is a phenomenal result. And really gone are the days where value is measured in an 18-month, 2-year IT project cycle. We are experiencing a phase where organisations are moving to a much more agile project delivery approach, where actually you're looking to get value back to the business within a couple of months. And the ROI is turning that round in half a year rather than the typical 3-year payback cycle. So not only is this tech more powerful, but it's absolutely giving value more in a more rapid fashion. So what are the use cases? So from Tibco's long kind of experience in the insurance market, and specifically over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen lots of insurers adopt this from a dynamic pricing perspective. So looking at propensity models, how you can judge whether an individual or an organisation is likely to purchase or likely to claim, and then actually performing those models in a real-time environment, ensuring that those models are constantly rebased to optimize your pricing. We see a lot of use cases around the concept of fraud surveillance, so looking at quote manipulation, for example, or bringing third-party data in to make more effective assessments about the fraud models that you use. And this is where we all talk about both the supervised and unsupervised machine learning models that can be applied, and I will leave that to Michael to come on to later on in the presentation. In terms of other use cases, so looking at kind of claims handling or straight-through processing, the concept there being that effectively you are making better decisions when you receive that first notification of loss. So you're routing it to either the most appropriate claims handler that has the skills or the sign-off ability to handle that claim, or indeed if it's very likely that claim is a genuine claim, you just want to straight-through process that and take the administrative burden off your organisation. We're also seeing use cases around customer engagement where either the engagement from your contact centre or from your organisation both needs to be holistic, contextual, and actually in some areas automated as well. So looking at chatbots, for example, that can use AI to give your customers the response that they need to their questions, but perhaps in a much more efficient way than you currently do right now. So looking at Tibco customers that are out there that have actually done some of this, and we're really excited to talk about some of the great results that they've seen. So we do a lot of work with the AI, for example, where they've deployed a dynamic pricing and real-time fraud application. It's actually deployed in less than 2 months, and they have 14 machine learning models that actually in production that are running against their real-time quote request platform, and have seen some tremendous results. We work with Saga, another UK general insurer, where they're actually taking our technology to build out their pricing application and really move the models that they use both away from but inclusive with the traditional GLM approach, very much delivering that artificial intelligence view to their actuarial function. Another really cool use case that I love to talk about is Azurian. They're a mobile phone insurer. They do a lot of white labelling of insurance products, and they have a very advanced approach to fraud detection, and by applying the concepts of the Algorithmic Insurer have actually reduced that fraud dispute ratio by 30%, and there's obvious cost savings within that. And then a big name, certainly in the US, a big customer of ours, Allstate, who very much use this platform to engage with their customers more effectively. both cutting their time to bring products to market, but actually by better engaging with their customers are able to increase their revenue by 15%, which is staggering when you think about the size of that organization. So I think the principle there really is that these concepts, whilst sometimes being kind of put into the phrase of buzzwords, are actually realities. There are organisations out there are use cases out there that are absolutely delivering this, and Tibco feel that we have a unique platform that can deliver these actionable insights that are made up of three kind of key areas. So this is the BI and analytics. It's how you have an immersive experience with your data and glean these fresh insights. It's about how you apply the power of data science, both within your data scientist community, but also proliferating that out to your wider business. And then actually deploying that into a dynamic environment that allows your decision making to be placed at the point that it matters most within your organization. So in some contexts that can be real time, in others that's minutes or perhaps hours. But the important thing is that your decision processes are happening when your business needs it to happen. So I'm going to pass over to Michael from here. Michael's going to give some background into and some detail behind some of these three concepts, and really show you the power of the Tibco Connected Intelligence platform.
Well, thanks, Adam, and good day, everybody. These concepts of going from an insight to an action through BI, analytics, data science, and into the world of streaming and real-time data constitutes a system of insight which drives enormous value across a variety of industries. And we've combined these into what we call the Tibco Connected Intelligence platform, where we connect to data of all sorts. We sense what's happening in that data in terms of irregularities or patterns. We learn from that and codify those learnings into a set of models and rules where, as data are flowing through the system, we can take a real-time action. That action could be a notification, an entry in a case management application, some other sort of action that drives customer engagement or manages risk across the business and its operations. So I'm going to walk you through these parts about how we go from data connection into sensing with visual analytics, into learning about the patterns in the data, and teeing up an action through a rule or a model that you've learned, and then importantly, how to rebase the system with fresh data as it's coming through, so completing the loop in this closed loop system of insight that we're able to apply to algorithmic insurance. It's the topic of today, but across a variety of industries. So starting with the connect part, this is bread and butter for Tibco. We have connectors to relational stores, real-time stores, big data, SAP systems, Teradata legacy systems. Our product BusinessWorks eventizes static data at rest, and combines with data in motion to have a real-time data integration. Also connecting people through the systems, data sources, people. That's the connect part of this. Getting into sense, this is where our visual analytics product Spotfire starts to come into play with visual dashboards, data wrangling, shaping the data, bringing in concepts like geoanalytics down to the sort of street address if needed, predictions, and providing at your fingertips a set of tools that allow you to rapidly configure an application for a specific purpose. And this allows you to cycle your AI and BI pieces in a rapid way to respond to your business's needs as well as your customers' needs. The third chunk of the Connected Intelligence platform, the learn piece, is about how to find patterns that you've never seen. It's often called unsupervised learning, or the patterns that you have seen when you do have a label. You know, here's a pattern of risk behavior that you've seen in the past that you want to train a model to see again in the future. So both patterns you've seen and patterns you haven't seen, supervised and unsupervised learning under the umbrella of machine learning is a big part of it. There's also rules, just being able to develop a rule, and if A happens, then do B kind of thing, is also an important part of this. Being able to do these analytics on numbers, text, to set limits for SPC, statistical process control, types of applications to set you up for managing real-time data against a set of thresholds. And with all of those rules and models, being able to not just develop them, but to manage their life cycle, to version them, be able to have one model that you bake off against another model easily, champion, challenger bake-offs, that sort of thing. So it's the workbench for building the models, but it's also the repository for managing the life cycle of the rules and models. This is where our product Tibco Statistica really comes to the fore, as well as Spotfire and our Tibco Enterprise Runtime for R. And we're the only organization that has a commercial runtime for R, allows you to run your R code inside of all of our products. Now, the final piece of the puzzle here, taking the action, is where the data are now streaming. So being able to connect to those real-time data, process the data in the stream, push the data out to a live data repository and visualize that, send out notifications, entries into case management systems, that sort of thing is the act part of the puzzle. So putting all these together, connecting to data, business works, sensing what's going on, Spotfire, learning and codifying the pattern into Statistica, and then taking an action and monitoring the results of that through our Tibco Live Data Mart, Tibco Streambase. So there's other products out there that help in different specialized situations, but this is kind of the backbone of the Tibco Connected Intelligence platform. So let's step through these pieces in the context of the algorithmic insurance problem. But as I mentioned earlier, this is one instantiation of our Connected Intelligence platform that we do across a variety of industries. And this is really our sweet spot for Tibco, is to find insights on data at rest and apply those insights to data in motion to deliver proactive customer service, cross-sell, upsell, predictive maintenance, inventory management, price optimization, to prevent fraud, optimize routes, and that sort of thing. So let's start with visual analytics and the sense part of the puzzle. And here Tibco Spotfire just has a wealth of graphics, dashboarding techniques, brush link, drill up, drill down, drill sideways, connect to the data, shape the data, look at KPIs, look at maps, both geographic as well as process maps, and do all the visualizations have inbuilt math for helping you quickly spot the outliers, spot the fire in the data. It's really a piece of visual analytics software that doesn't just show pretty pictures. It helps you spot the fire, find the outliers, find the action in the data where the value is that you now want to kind of understand and take through the system. The geoanalytics capabilities I referred to are particularly powerful. Geocoding and reverse geocoding down to the street level, and the map chart that allows you to work in this area, doing contours, heat maps, trade area, distance and drive time trade areas, analyzing points in polygons, route optimization, very powerful part of the platform. And you can then build up the dashboards that combine visual analytics, geoanalytics, whatever the case may be. Here's just a few examples. These dashboards can be put together very quickly. We have a suggestive AI-driven recommendations engine in the product that suggests visualizations and combinations of visualizations to create your dashboards. So these can be put together pretty quickly. A few examples you see on the screen here. Top right is the data quality dashboard. Bottom right is hurricanes in the news lately. Top left is from the energy sector. Bottom left, the manufacturing sector. And the two in the middle are more sales and marketing applications across a variety of industries. So let's move into the learn part, the predictive analytics piece. Spotfire, Statistica, Tibco, Enterprise Runtime for R are the products here. Now, Spotfire has a bunch of inbuilt predictive analytics through the menu system. You can do things like k-means clustering or line similarity, hierarchical clustering, supervised, unsupervised modeling, and so on, point and click. It also has this inbuilt runtime engine for R that ships with the product. You don't have to do anything with open source components, but you can run your open source code directly inside of Spotfire. That allows you to change, to do dynamic expressions that can be reflected on axes and automatically part of your slice and dice immersive experience for drill up, drill down, drill sideways sort of thing inside of Spotfire. So it's an engine right inside of Spotfire that is configurable with R packages and so on. And also through data functions where you can call out to R, you can also call to Python or other libraries that allow you to run, for example, some of the machine learning algorithms I've been talking about, or really just also managing data and shaping data for your visual and predictive analysis. Now, Statistica is our companion product here. We really took a double down in the area of predictive analytics when we acquired this company, and it's really become part of our connected intelligence platform very quickly. It's a data science workbench, drag and drop, create these workflows for quite sophisticated models, whether they run in Spark or whether they run in the database or in memory. There's a variety of options there and a really extensive palette, thousands of routines that you can stitch together and create a workspace in a point-and-click environment. And that workspace is managed in the metadata repository along with the rule you've created or the model you've created, and full version control, lifecycle management around the models and rules that are developed in this point-and-click data science workbench. And then we're providing for you through our community site a variety of templates and accelerators that let you get started very quickly with such machine learning and predictive analytics componentry through Spotfire, through Statistica, through combinations of our products. So with Spotfire, some of those templates include SPC, quality control, machine learning, both supervised and unsupervised learning. On the supervised side, things like gradient boosting, random forests, deep learning, propensity models. On the unsupervised side, things like deep learning autoencoders for anomaly detection, segmentation using various types of cluster analysis, affinity and association analysis. These are techniques that just look at the variables and their multi-dimensions and characterize patterns and relationships within those, whereas the supervised models, you have a label. You've got some known cases of, say, fraud, and you're training a model to recognize those versus the cases where there wasn't fraud. So quite a good collection of data functions you can download and run inside Spotfire for doing that sort of predictive analytics, along with modeling, simulation, optimization, genetic algorithms, things like that. Now, on the Statistica side of things, as I mentioned, it's a full-service data science workbench, thousands of stats, machine and deep learning methods, again, lots of supervised learning methods, modeling methods, ensemble methods, random forest boosting, bagging, variety of ways for constructing ensembles. Unsupervised learning for anomaly detection or exploring a multi-dimensional space. And in addition to the inbuilt models, there's also connectivity out to a variety of algorithmic marketplaces, including Azure, Algorithmia, Alphabeta, and so on. And in addition to all of that, it's simple to bring in your R code or your Python code or your H2O code or some of the other open source libraries like the deep learning CNTK libraries, TensorFlow, things like that, and manage those in specialized nodes in the Statistica workspace. And then when you check your workspace or your model or your rule into the repository on the server, that's then managed, versioned. You can deploy from there, embed results. You can save out the model as C code or PMML or Java or a variety of ways. You can even save it out as SAS code if you want to run it inside of a SAS environment, a legacy environment such as that. So this ability to create point and click, bring in your open source components, manage the models and rules across the life cycle for deployment in a repeatable, validatable, auditable way with version control is a pretty big deal. Now, in addition, it's oftentimes good to pre-process data and blend data from multiple sources and push out results into Spotfire for more visual analysis. So if you've got loads and loads of columns or lots of data, you can, through either data blending combined with machine learning, find the important variables and then bring them across, say, to Spotfire for further analysis. This is also a platform that's certified by the Dell and the Boomi environment for IoT applications, and that's kind of based on the ability to do this model transport and access of models through both exporting and transporting code, as well as through a REST interface for live scoring. So we've been combining all these products to create some of the solutions, and we've put in hooks that make the products still loosely coupled and standalone center of excellence capability, but having this tight integration. So, for example, you can create a model in Statistica, say, for statistical process control, and push out the results of that as a Spotfire binary files and automatically launch Spotfire for then doing an interactive dynamic control chart, for example. You know, this is widely used, SPC is widely used in the manufacturing sector, but as more and more sectors are becoming lean, Six Sigma style operations, this technique of SPC is making its way across to all industries who want to manage outliers and manage anomalies as they occur, you know, across the operations of the organization. So that's a bit of a taste of what we do there in the learn side of things with Spotfire and Statistica. Moving on to the ACT, the final piece to the puzzle, at least in the first iteration of the closed loop, the system of insight. The streaming part, big product here is our Tibco Live Data Mart that you can feed with any sort of real-time data stream coming from any part of your business. It gives you a relational real-time schema. So it's like a relational database, except it also has a when clause as well as a where clause that allows you to interrogate different parts of the of time and to do automatic queries into those time windows to surface situations or anomalies of interest. Now, this live data mart can be fed and orchestrated through Tibco Streambase, which is a real-time math type engine and data integration engine. And there's also connectivity out to our business process management. If you surface up an issue that needs to be dealt with, you can automatically write that to our business process management application, and then it becomes a case that is then managed through whatever processes you want to apply in your business to managing situations, claim situations, for example, some of the areas that Adam spoke about earlier. So if you look at, say, Streambase, you see that we have various off-the-shelf components and data merge on the stream. Analytics can become from the data science piece. You then apply your business strategy so that if you get an exceedance of a threshold, say from an SPC chart, you can take an action. That action could include launching a root cause analysis in say, Spotfire. The data are being fed directly into the live data mart, where it's continuously updated and visualized, and rules can be applied across that using just natural SQL across the live data mart. So Streambase is an important way to sort of orchestrate and merge data into the live data mart. And some of those rules that you might apply can be quite simple rules on the stream to drive the subsequent action. So we've combined these products as well in the Connected Intelligence platform. So it's very simple from Statistica to right-click and push out some code describing a model or a workspace or a set of rules That can be through PMML or a Java object or a C object or a C# object, and that can then just be injected directly into the stream-based event flow that orchestrates and analyzes the data on the stream that allows you to take a downstream action. So that's the platform, Tibco Connected Intelligence. The connect to the data and systems, sense, learn, and act, and these are the key products that are used to drive this algorithmic transformation that we're seeing across the business. And these products can be bundled together, and as I mentioned, they're tightly integrated but loosely coupled. Some of our customers have all of them, some have different components of them to address their particular problem. So I know we're talking about insurance today, but just one example of how we're tying this together is our collaboration with the Mercedes F1 team. We're this year's sponsor. We're thrilled that they're leading the series this year. And this is an incredible amount of data that we're able to look at in analyzing both the pre-race and during the race. These cars have got more than 200 sensors, 2 megabytes per second throughput, 35 megabytes per car per lap, 15 gigabytes of unstructured data per car, and we're getting about 45 terabytes of data per week from the team. And being able to look at this through our connected intelligence platform helps us, help to make the cars more performant, reliable, and the team to adopt the best strategy. It's a fierce competition out there, and we've got our nose in front right now, but it's really a big data-driven application that, in some ways, is a superset of all of the industry sectors that we play in with our Tibco Connected Intelligence platform. So let's talk a little bit now about how you can get started with this. And our Tibco community we've set up to enable you. You can answer questions. You can put up questions there that you get answered. There's an exchange for components. You can download information on the products. You can join in a community discussion on our wiki. So you can get started in the Spotfire area, for example. There's core capabilities and beyond the core and industry solutions. Quickly understand how you can access data, wrangle it. What are your best practices for dashboard design, for example. So if you go to community.tibco.com, you'll see a variety of places you can engage and find information. So the Exchange has a number of components for analytics templates in Spotfire. Some of the things I mentioned earlier, accelerators that where we join the products together to address problems like connected vehicles or case management, and a number of data functions that apply across the products. So this insurance pricing application we've been talking about today is a new accelerator joining the family of accelerators and templates that we have on the platform and on the community site, and we're pretty excited to launch this accelerator, allowing you to quickly get started on predictive pricing, for example, and the same platform can be used for some of the other use cases Adam mentioned earlier, such as fraud and customer cross-sell and so on. Adam, did you want to make some comments about the new accelerator for insurance pricing?
Yeah, I'd be very happy to. So, well, I mean, the first thing I'll say, Michael, is I think it's so cool that from an insurance perspective, you can start to think that as an industry, we're adopting F1 technology, right? Or technology that's being used in the F1 world. It's if you said that to me when I first started working in insurance, I would have laughed quite hard at that one. But it's really cool, and thanks for going through those different components. I think what we've attempted to do here with this insurance pricing accelerator is really give our customers that leg up, that fast start to arrive at a point where they can really start to get some value out of these technologies in a really rapid way, rapid time to value, that delivering do some of these advanced techniques to our customers is really where we're focusing on. So the investment has gone in from Tibco here, and we're really keen to collaborate with both our customers and partners in this specific accelerator.
Yeah, so specifically the predictive pricing piece allows you to bring up your data in Spotfire, see the patterns, create the predictive model as a supervised learning model, machine learning model, to understand the optimal pricing for the product, on the historical data, and then to take that model into the streaming world and apply it to folks who are looking for insurance quote on the website in real time, and then looking at providing a real-time dashboard that people can look at seeing what's happening on the website and get alerts when certain situations are occurring, and all the while under the hood wrangling the data both on the Spotfire historical analysis as well as the stream-based real-time analysis, streamlining that whole process of wrangling data, and then on a regular basis rebasing the model from the most recent data that's come across the website to update the models and close the loop in the system of insight. So the idea here is that we start small, we wrangle data, bring it into the visual analytics environment, find the patterns, spot the fire, build out the patterns and models, and then deploy those models to the real-time engine, connecting to a variety of real-time data stores, so making that connection between patterns and algorithms on the historical data to applying those in real time. And then, as I mentioned, every week or so to rebase the models from the most recent data. Where did we do well? Where could we have done better? And continually update and calibrate the models. So that's the way we want to help you get started, with this accelerator from our family of connected intelligence accelerators, and we're thrilled to have this offering for our insurance customers. So with that, I open it up for questions, and Judith, have you been seeing any questions come in for Adam or myself?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a few questions, and I'd like to encourage the audience still to post your questions in the Q&A section of our webinar platform. In the meantime, we have a question here for you, Michael, I think. Someone asks, what's your advice around non-data scientists want to adopt some of the advanced techniques you described?
Yes, a very good question. The sort of data scientist is a bit of a unicorn-style beast. Combining knowledge of the business problem, some of the math and statistical approaches to those problems, and being able to source data and wrangle and shape data for the whole purpose. So that combination of business acumen, abilities to hands-on shape data and get data, and then actually do put in place the algorithms and rules and so on. It's quite a lot, and so oftentimes companies will have a team of data scientists where folks will specialize in one of those areas, and they'll create a virtual version of that data scientist. So we provide tools for all of those areas and make it easy for the data scientist. But also through this accelerator and through the components I showed you we have on our community site, we have a lot there for the apprentice data scientist, as well as for the analyst who is partway up in one of those three areas that I mentioned. And the idea of the accelerator is to provide point-and-click versions of data science embedded materials, whether it's for data wrangling or for machine learning, to provide those tools for the data science apprentice and for the analyst. The data science team at Tibco has quite a broad set of skills. Some very experienced modeling folks and data folks, and then a lot of junior people who are really excited to be part of this data science movement, but are still, at the apprentice kind of stage, and it's just a never-ending set of learning that we do across this data science area. So, we're trying to give you tools for wherever you are on that curve. So if you're just starting, we've got various point-and-click tools. You can configure them as you get to understand a little bit more. You can go under the hood and configure those as little or as much as you want. So we're trying to address that entire population of data scientists and data science apprentices. A good question.
Thanks for answering, Michael. Here's another one, probably to you, Adam. How does the algorithmic approach compare to the way insurance companies currently perform pricing in the industry standard software?
Oh, yes, good question. So if we look at kind of the way the insurance world has always priced, it's always been within the context of effectively black box applications that I guess are limited. They're obviously industry standard, but they're limited in both their approach to the models that they use, their ability to be open and agile platforms, and frankly, they cost an arm and a leg. So I think the real differentiation that we put across is that you can bring in a lot more sophistication to your decision making and your risk assessment by bringing in more advanced models. So it's not just the GLM models that are traditionally used, but as Michael described, both the supervised and unsupervised machine learning, along with other components from many different languages. You can also be a lot more agile and dynamic, getting results a lot quicker rather than waiting for kind of 6 months for either vendors or your IT organization to turn things around. You can actually dynamically price and change your models on a daily or weekly basis as your business requires. And as I mentioned before, there is often a big cost pressure within many customers and many insurers, and this approach is a lot leaner in terms of its footprint and the expense required to both adopt and maintain the technology.
Brilliant, thanks, Adam. We have a couple of interesting questions coming in, so I just wanted to assure our audience that if we haven't managed to answer your questions online, then we'll get back to you offline after the webinar. But we still have time for a last one. So Michael, here's the last one for you. Can you give more insight into how unsupervised machine learning models can be used in an insurance context?
Yeah, so the difference there, unsupervised learning models, when you don't have a prior case that you're trying to train a model against. So when you have prior cases that you can label a fraud or an opportunity for upsell or a pricing category, when you have a labeled set of data from historical observations that you can train against, that's a supervised model. Now, when you don't, when you just have a bunch of transactions and you want to find the anomalies or the outliers, spot the fire, that's where unsupervised models come in. And we have a bunch of those that we use regularly in Spotfire and especially in Statistica. Cluster analysis, for example, is an example of an unsupervised technique, and that is where you look at your population of transactions or your population of customers, and you try and find the ones that are similar in groups and the ones that are departing from that similarity. So you can look at the sort of the oddity of a transaction compared to the rest of the transactions, and it might not fall in one of the groups of the of the rest of the transactions. So cluster analysis and measuring the distance from the cluster center to the transaction or so is that distance can be thought of as the oddity of that transaction. A transaction might have hundreds of dimensions to it, and so you're searching around 100-dimensional space and looking for the anomalies and outliers in that 100-dimensional space. So cluster analysis, with suitable distance calculation is one way to approach that. More recently, we've been getting into the deep learning area where there's a technique called an autoencoder, that you can look at multi-dimensional space and with a low rank approximation. So you might have, say, with hundreds of dimensions on the space of transactions, you might approximate that with, say, a neural net with 10 nodes, and now you've got a 10-dimension approximation to a 100-dimensional space. And so the observations that are close to the center, of most similar to all the other ones, will have a low reconstruction error on the autoencoder, and the ones that are far away from the mass of most of the observations won't be able to be constructed very well by a 10-dimensional approximation, and so they'll have a high reconstruction error. So you'll find back for each of the transactions, you'll get a reconstruction error estimate, and the ones with high reconstruction errors become your anomalies that you can then figure out how to deal with. So that notion of finding the oddity in multidimensional space, really that dimension reduction and approximation, using cluster analysis, principal components, types of dimension reduction techniques, and more recently autoencoders. We've got a really good, powerful collection of tools that we can look at anomalies across a population of transactions or customers and so on, without needing to know a particular fraud event or event that you train a supervised model against. We can just look at the population of transactions or customers, and we can find the anomalies in that multi-dimensional space through these techniques of dimension reduction, PCA, cluster analysis, and more recently autoencoders. That allows us to really get to the heart of the matter and find the outliers across a large collection of transactions, for example. So yeah, that's a technique we use a lot in this insurance business, to find the outliers in claims or in quotes, that sort of thing. So if you've shouldn't worry that you don't really need to have a bunch of historical examples of fraud or claim irregularities. We can help you find the outliers in whatever data you have through that unsupervised learning technique. So great question, whoever asked that. Feel free to contact me for any further information there. Adam and my contact information is listed here on the site. Also feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to put out a few times a week, pointing you to various events that are going on in different sectors or different hot topics that are coming up in the world of data science or analytics, and also keeping you apprised of what we've got going on our community site. So that's it from me, Judith.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Adam, as well, for your fantastic presentation today and all the great insights shared about the algorithmic insurance concept. As mentioned, this is the first in a series of webinars around algorithmic insurance, so we'll keep everyone in the loop about upcoming webinars around the series. We'll email everyone who registered for today's webinar about the next webinars in the series. And with that, I'd like to thank again Adam and Michael, and wish everyone a very nice rest of the day. Goodbye.